Welcome everyone to JumpScares. I am your host, Dale Strom, and this is episode 1, Ground Zero. So thank you for being here. It can truly be said you have been here from the beginning. And so we dive in. Variety.com reports that on April 7th, local authorities in Crowley, Louisiana mistakenly used the actual sirens used in the Purge films to signal curfew. Once they realized their hilarious and unfortunately a little too on-the-nose mistake, they later apologized. Deadline.com reports that HBO has announced a new Hellraiser series to be helmed by David Gordon Green of Halloween 2018 fame. No word yet on any official involvement from Doug Bradley reprising his role of Pinhead, but we can always hope. Also in keeping with the recent trend of franchises making the jump to TV and streaming service series, both Elijah Wood of 2012's Maniac remake and Dr. Sleep's Mike Flanagan have expressed interest in being involved with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise moving forward. While neither has been officially attached to the project at this time, it's worth noting that Wood admits into looking into the rights to the franchise. Speaking of The Shining, the 1980 Stanley Kubrick masterpiece finally received its long overdue official board game adaptation courtesy of Mixlore. Be sure to pick it up as soon as possible. It features some absolutely stunning artwork and designs. It is available at Target.com as well as other fine online retailers. Also, to the delight of COVID-19 quarantined gamers, Capcom released its long-awaited Resident Evil 3 remake to very favorable reviews on IGN.com as well as other game review sites. Also in horror merchandise news, new DVD and Blu-ray releases for April include Dr. Sleep, Gretel and Hansel, Fantasy Island, The Grudge, The Purge Season 2, The Turning, ICU, Camp Coldbrook, and The Lodge, as well as a special edition release from Arrow Video of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and a special restoration Blu-ray of genre pioneer The Golem. Due to COVID-19, all theatrical releases have been pushed back, including A Quiet Place Part 2, Candyman, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Malignant, and Run, starring Sarah Paulson of American Horror Story. Most of these films have been tentatively moved to September or later, depending on how this global pandemic plays out through the remainder of the spring and summer. We can only hope that things take a turn for the better sooner rather than later. Trick or Treat Studios recently announced a new line of statuettes from the Halloween franchise, Dawn of the Dead, and others. They unveiled the prototypes in February, and to be honest, they look absolutely phenomenal. The price tag may be a little bit steep, but they look like they may well be worth the investment. Well, folks, that pretty much covers the recent horror news, so that takes us to the latter half of our broadcast, where we like to take a step back and examine some films from the past. So in keeping with that, tonight we're going to take a look at a film from 1980 about something deadly that's spreading like a virus in the seaside Northern California town of Antonio Bay. We recently caught up with our good friend Jonny Gore to find out what he had to say about John Carpenter's classic atmospheric ghost story, The Fog.
Now, last week I said I was going to come back and do a review on a movie that is a little bit foggy. The Fog, the original Fog, the real Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog, 1980, starring Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Atkins, the man. This is one of my favorites, man. This is one of my favorites, and especially one of my favorites of Carpenter's. I tell you, yeah, this movie, man, it works. Damn it. You know, everything they put in this movie, you know, it's just, especially when you get Carpenter to put the music in, you know. The fog is going into town, and Stevie Wayne, you know, Adrienne Barbeau's character, she alerting everybody to, if they're out on the street, you gotta get inside, lock all their doors and windows, you know. And all this is going down. You get to hear that music, man. That music, the Carpenter putting that music in, you know, that beat in the back, and that ding, boom, boom, ding, ding, boom, boom, ding, ding, boom, boom, ding, ding, ding. And then, when the fog starts coming in, you just hear that. Tension just building. It's just building. That's all. Today is April 21st. Just like in the movie. In the movie, April 21st, the fog rolls in. Fog rolls in. And that's when everything goes haywire in Antonio Bay. All of this shit is happening all at the same time, just going crazy. Windows getting smashed and everything. I tell you, yeah, this movie though, yeah, Tom Atkins, in this movie, Tom Atkins, the man. Atkins' character, Nick Castle, he's just driving down the road. He just sees Jamie Lee Curtis's character, sees her, he picks her up, hitchhiking, picks her up, not too long later, these two are in bed with each other. I mean, hey, you just picked her up on the side of the road, he didn't even know her name beforehand. This is one of the best ghost stories. One of the best ghost stories in any movie that you can never see, Jack. This fog, this is no ordinary fog. This fog, it goes in its own direction. It glows. Why? Because this fog is inhabited by ghosts. Okay? So yeah, this is pretty much a vengeance story, Blake and the rest of his crew. Oh, I got a little story to share with you about the fog, It was 3 in. This movie came on 3 in on Sci-Fi. In my bedroom, laying in bed, I'm just watching it. You know what? Maybe I should take the trash out while I'm still awake. Maybe I should take the trash out. So after the movie went off at 5 o'clock, I went up, I took the trash out, and then I saw I looked further down the street, and I saw that the early morning mist, it may as well have been a fog, but it was an early morning mist, and I see down the street, I see the street light, and nothing is there, but, I see just that mist. So my mind is still immersed into that world. It being pretty dark out, 5 in, it's still pretty dark out, pitch black dark out. Only thing you see is the street light and light from the front yard. Yeah, it freaked me out a bit, so I took that trash out, put it on the side of the curb, and now I went back into the house, a little bit freaked out because, I just saw the fog and the movie is pretty scary. So, that was my little bit of a true life horror experience. Go and watch the fog again. I know I will. For what it is, I give it a good 4 out of 5 rating. Even though it's one of my favorite movies, a 4.5 out of 5 rating. Yeah, that's official. That's my review, and I'm sticking to it, chat.
Thank you, Johnny, for that. We appreciate it. I will definitely be revisiting The Fog again, as I so often do. Definitely one of my favorites. The Fog is something of a comfort food for me of a horror film. Also, in keeping with that, we'd like to catch up with another friend of the show, Mr. Rabbit Hunter, who has some things to say about perhaps a slightly lesser known film from the golden age of horror, 1985's The Stuff.
Everybody's got to eat shaving cream once in a while. For the VHS summary, director Larry Cohen's tale of repressed sexual fantasies disguised as a critique of 80s junk food, product marketing, and corporatism. This hits all the 80s shit buttons: a killer monster, brainwashing, random hillbillies, and I love them, inept authorities, and I love them even more, the crazy family, the white zero, the black sidekick, the sex object, and evil corporate bastards, overplayed commercial jingles, and the annoying kid hero who knows what's really going the fuck on. This movie isn't just a killer dessert movie critique of the 80s consumerism. It's just an excuse for the director to make semen jokes. Lessons I learned from this movie: if you see an unknown ooze emerge from the ground, stick your fingers in it and give it a taste. In the 80s, it was totally acceptable for young boys to hop into a strange man's car. I also learned it's acceptable for strange men to then ditch the said kid. In order to prove X, you need to steal a truckload of X. If your man has something attached to his face, the best solution is to burn it off. Rating, I give this 7 random rednecks out of 10. Inept, insane, and entertaining as hell. It hits all the cliches and has a bungled attempt at a message. What more could you ask for? Best killer dessert movie I've ever seen. I like Mo because he carries explosives with him. At least the stuff doesn't procrastinate killing you like the other junk food does. It don't fuck around.
All right, Mr. Rabbit Hunter, thank you so much. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being with us on our first episode of... excuse me. Yeah. All right, I'm receiving word. Actually, we're going to have one final guest on tonight. As you may or may not know, we recently unveiled Big Chill Theater Presents Big Fourth Episode, the top 10 horror films of the 1970s. Joining us tonight with some thoughts of her own on that list, coming to us from a bathroom somewhere in New Jersey, Alice Sweet Alice's Mrs. Tredoni. Are you with us? Can you hear me?
Oh, thank you. So good to see you.
Now, Mrs. Tredoni, first of all, you look absolutely stunning. You've got to be about 141 years old by this point. Would you be willing to share with us what are some of your secrets? How do you manage to keep such a fresh, vibrant glow about you after all these years?
Oh, I'm so glad that you asked. You see, there has been many a Catholic priest around me to murder lately. With them all being in jail now, so I've turned my attention and energy to holistic medicine and dermatology.
That sounds absolutely horrifying, Mrs. Tredoni.
You know, Mr. Dale, I don't enjoy killing these people, but they don't listen to the 10 Commandments of the church. Did I ever tell you about that time St. Michael took my little girl and...
Mr. Tredoni, I hardly think this is the time for it.
Dale.
Look, Mrs. Tredoni, I'd like to get your thoughts on what you think should have been the top films of the 1970s.
Well, I'm so glad you asked me, Mr. Dale. You know, I always think that maybe a Halloween or a Carrie should win. I tell you this much though, Mr. Dale, I do not like The Exorcist. It is so disrespectful to the church.
Well, I gotta admit, Mrs. Tredoni, I do think The Exorcist is
that nasty movie one. I was going to pay you a visit. Do you understand, Mr. Dale?
Look, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this interview. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Everyone, if we could get a warm round of applause. Thank you so much, Mrs. Tredoni. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. That's going to do it for this evening. Until next time, I am your ghost host with the most post, Dale Strom, signing off.